In 1932, the Australian military declared war on a bird. Not a metaphor, an actual bird. 20,000 of them, technically, which sounds like it should have helped the army's case. It did not. Because here's the thing, they lost. In mind a decade or so, after the First World War, Australia handed returning soldiers plots of marginal land in Western Australia and said, "Go on then, grow wheat." Then the Depression hit, wheat prices collapsed, and the government's helpful advice was to grow more wheat. And into this mess, right on schedule for their annual migration, marched roughly 20,000 emus, straight through the Campion district, eating crops and flattening fences like they had a lease. The farmers, many of them veterans, did what veterans do when a problem needs solving. They asked for machine guns. A delegation petitioned the Minister of Defence, George Pearce, and Pearce, in a decision he'd have plenty of time to think about, said yes. The deployment. Major G.P.W. Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery, 2 soldiers, 2 Lewis guns, and an allotment of 10,000 rounds of ammunition. 10,000 rounds. 20,000 emus. Even if every single bullet found a bird, that's half a bullet per emu. Nobody in the room appears to have done that sum. On the 2nd of November, near Campion, the army met the enemy for the first time. The plan was simple. Herd the emus into range, open fire, go home heroes. The emus had other ideas. Or rather, the emus had no ideas at all, and that turned out to be tactically brilliant. Instead of bunching up like a proper enemy, they scattered into small groups and sprinted off in every direction at up to 50 kilometers an hour. Worse, the ones that did get hit often just kept going. These birds absorbed multiple rounds and jogged away, mildly inconvenienced. So the army got creative. Mount a Lewis gun on a truck, they thought, and chase the birds down. Except the ground was so rough that the gunner couldn't land a single accurate shot from the bouncing vehicle. The emus outran a truck. Sit with that for a moment. By the 8th of November, 6 days in, the whole thing was called off. The final tally, around 2,500 rounds fired and only a few hundred birds down. The ornithologist Dominic Saventi watched all this and compared the emus' pack tactics to the invulnerability of tanks. Tanks! Meredith himself went further, praising their manoeuvrability and declaring that if we had a military division with the bullet-carrying capacity of these birds, it would face any army in the world. That is, the commanding officer, on the record, endorsing the enemy. Parliament, for its part, laughed the campaign out of the room. One member stood up and asked whether medals would be struck for the emus, and honestly, they'd earned them. Nobody struck the medals, which feels like a missed opportunity. You'd think that would be the end of it. It was not. The farmers kept losing crops, the pressure kept building, and on the 12th of November, the army went back in for round 2. Same guns, same birds, same result, more or less. This campaign ran until the 10th of December, and it went, and I'm quoting the general vibe of the official record here, modestly better, which is a very polite way of saying it was still a failure. When your best result against a flightless bird is modestly better, you stop holding press conferences. The army packed up, quietly this time, and never came back. Here's the epilogue. What finally worked wasn't the military at all. A bounty system, paying locals per bird, succeeded where 2 Lewis guns and 10,000 rounds could not. Turns out, the answer to 20,000 emus was never an army. It was an invoice. And the emus themselves? Still there. Still striding across Western Australia at 50 kilometers an hour, completely unbothered by history. But here's my favourite part. Have a look at Australia's coat of arms. On one side, a kangaroo. On the other, standing tall and looking faintly smug, an emu. The bird that took on the Australian military and won now guards the nation's crest. So, yes, in 1932, Australia went to war with a bird and lost. And then it put the bird on the trophy.